What's happening, y'all? Coach Holloway back with you again. So today's film study is going to be part one of a two-part series on the Super Bowl. There was so much I had to break down, I had to put it into two. So the first part right here will be on the Kansas City Chiefs and their failure during the Super Bowl, going in offensively. You'll get to see the defense when I do the Chiefs video next. So I'm doing it from the offensive perspective on both sides. So, starting with the Chiefs, their failure was a game plan that was based off of long, deep passes, deep shots, despite the fact that they were going up against a really good defense, but especially a really good defensive line. Normally, they had been, for the past 3 years, been relying on short, intermediate passes, RPOs, and stuff like that in order to get up and down the field. And they've been real effective with it, despite Tyreek Hill being gone. Also, there was some pretty bad line play or disappointing line play rather that they hadn't seen in the last couple of years either. You had some guys injured, especially at the tackle position. You had a guard moving out the tackle, and I'm gonna get through all that when we get into the film. So with that being said, they still had the game plan of doing a lot of these deep shots, and in my personal opinion, I don't think it was the right call for this particular game and this particular team you're going against. But I'm gonna get onto that into the video. But I want y'all to watch, enjoy, tell me what you think about it. Appreciate it. Now, this play right here is a great start for them. If they had gone more of this RPO route or this quick passer route, I think the game might have been different. But yeah, so you see here, he's hitting Smith Schuster right there over the middle. They influence the linebacker number 53 right here, I think Bond, and so that frees up the hitch right there, and they get some yardage on that. But anyways, if the rest of the game had gone like that, it'd have been a different result. Now, this is where I started seeing the problems. Again, it's an RPO with a rub route right here with a slant that should be going into this defender, Cooper DeJohn. So as the ball is snapped, Hollywood Brown, he just kind of runs like a regular slant and doesn't try to influence him at all. So Cooper gets the tackle right here at the line of scrimmage. And, it's like one of them things that the Chiefs do all the time that for some reason they just ain't do today. Like the rhythm was off. So again, with the rhythm being off, you got Kelsey going over the middle here, getting open on a dig route, I think, going against a cover four look. So he opened here, and it's a not a perfect ball. It's a good enough ball, but I mean he just don't come up with it. Now this man is a Hall of Famer who's had an amazing career, and stuff like this should be routine for him. But for some reason he just don't come up with it. Just I don't know, and especially against a coverage which is favorable to you in that position. That's just you got to come up with that. Now I ain't drawing nothing on this one, but I just want y'all to look at this. Where is the separation? Where is it? I mean, what is Mahomes supposed to do? Then you got all this running around. I mean, he has to get somebody open. So, that's a problem. Low key, it's been a problem for the last 3 years. And another thing, I just want to give credit to the Eagles for having great contained lanes right here. Look at that. There's nowhere for him to go. Oh, and so it causes him to run around basically in circles, basically to get free. And when a guy scrambles, I prefer him to run more decisively in one direction than to be doing all this running around in the backfield. I don't think it does what you think it does, even though he's one of the best. But just when you are playing this game with the defense, man, it just really doesn't do anything to get yards or to move the ball forward. You just end up just wasting time, basically. And this series right here seriously made me sick right here on their own goal line. It's like they made a concerted effort the whole game not to run the ball in obvious situations like this where you have to run to get off the goal line. And I ain't even going to draw up nothing. I just want you to see the play choices they decide to go, where they just throw in short routes and stuff like that, trying to get off the goal line. And but mind you, it's 7-0 right now. They don't have no need to be doing all this. It ain't like they down 34-0 in the fourth quarter. Like they could have done something here. And then this last play right here, this again, it's another Kelsey one where it's just like, you know, should be routine. You're just not coming up with it. And then, what do you do? Like, how do you move forward as an offense if the little things that you always do ain't working? And this here was just criminal. I mean, you got DeAndre Hopkins, getting open here on the over. And, again, the coverage favorable. They got a cover six right here. And you got to take advantage of it. So Mahomes, he does a good job of getting free right here. And then, you wide open, Hopkins. Like, what? Why you ain't catch it? Now back to the pocket. Now I'm gonna talk about this more once we get into the sack section. But look at this 9-yard drop. Excuse me. that they do. I'm gonna address this a little bit more when we get into the pass protection side, but that's just very interesting because of the adjustments and problems it causes for the line. And like, yeah, it's just no excuse. And one of the greatest hands in NFL history can even come up with something like that, wide open. Yeah, man, something was just off about them. Okay, and so for this section here, I'm not gonna go into all the sacks, just the ones that mattered when the game was competitive. The early sacks I thought were interesting because you had pass protection where you had assignments like having like in this one a tight end Kelsey 1-on-1 with a true edge. I don't know if that was a good protection plan on their part, but also man, at least get a hit on the guy, get in the way, do a proper chip. I mean, you just let him go and then no surprise, it's a sack. What you ideally want to do is put your body in front of the guy, give him a good hard shove, and then you come back around and then release for whatever play you're trying to run a screen or uh, play action in the flash or whatever. But just make contact with dude. And here you have a situation where both edges win their battles. So on the left, you got Joe Tooney, who was actually moved from guard to tackle because of an injury. And then on the right, you have, again, a tight end and a running back chipping on this dude. Kelsey does a little better here, but Pacheco doesn't do a good connection with this dub right here. He doesn't chip at that other arm, and so he ends up letting him get through. But Tooney just gets beat. I mean, there's nothing else to talk about. And since there was a lot of coverage sacks this game, that's why I'm showing these next two plays all the way out. And so this is a concept that the Chiefs like to run a lot, especially this year where you have like a flood on one side of the field or the other. And the Eagles decide to run a cover six again against that with the zone to the receiver strength side. And then they ran this on a 3rd and 7, I want to say. It seemed like every time it was a third and any kind of distance, they would try to get all the yards back instead of trying to do something more intermediate to try to, try to run up there. Here in the pocket, I want y'all to notice something he does here. This 9-yard drop from Mahomes causes a lot more space and more depth than what you normally have in a shotgun, and it causes the linemen to have to cover more angles than what they're supposed to. And football is all about angles, whether it be angles of tackling and blocking. And so when you increase that space, and like I said, you already had a bad performer line, you had a guard moving the tackle on the left side, so you already got the issues, and so you making it worse by giving them more space to cover. That's hard on them, and so that causes the problems you have with this situation with the pass rush with an already good defensive line, so it just make it even worse. Now this is not an overly impressive sack, but it does make me want to do some teach tape on some stuff about technique and about pass rushing. So they have their alignment and their assignment, but the thing is how they pursue after the ball is snapped. So they don't go too far upfield and they stay in a good angle to the quarterback to be able to pursue whenever he takes off like this. I mentioned it before in the Jalen Carter video, but yeah, you don't want to rush too far upfield. It's just like playing linebacker. You want to have the angle to the runner. Again, similar situation. It's third and medium to long, and they're calling all long routes, and that's just what it is. Same thing, Actually, they do get open this time, but the thing is because of the previous issues going on with the line and the game plan, it's just still the same with them. All right, on to the turnovers, and this was hard because Mahomes, who's a pretty intelligent QB, made some bonehead plays here. So again, they run the same flood concept on yet another third and long, but though this time they actually moved the pocket. When I was coaching, we call this a dash play. Basically, you roll out and you try to hit somebody on one side of the field or the other. And the defense comes out in the same coverage as always, but I got Cooper DeJohn highlighted, circled in red. So as the ball snapped, you see the defense roll with the routes to the coverage, and Cooper DeJohn, he really did his homework. He could feel the over route coming behind him, and then he also knew Mahomes' habit of throwing backside. So he jumped it and took it to the house. This play to me screamed of desperation because I think at this point it was 10-0, and you still had time to be able to come back, but it just showed that you know the team was just out of rhythm and were doing just some crazy stuff, just trying to get something working, and that never is a recipe for winning. Okay, so I take back what I said about being bonehead on this play because I think Mahomes just got affected by the pressure. I mean, look at his left side, watch it get hit as soon as he throw, and it goes right to Bond. So good catch by him, but I mean at the same time, it's just the quarterback not being able to get to his spot and throw. And again, it's Joe Tooney going out playing, going from guard to tackle, Uh, Now it ain't just him. I mean, the whole line had problems all day, but just those lines, especially at the tackle position, those issues, that's what really hurt them throughout the game. So in a time where guys can't get separation and can't make plays on their own, you got some hope here with Xavier Worthy. In the years since Tyreek Hill was traded, they didn't have that weapon, that guy that can just blow up a play, blow up a game like that. So they've been relying on, mostly, short passes and intermediate stuff. And it was a good game plan for a while. But, every now and then you just kind of need that extra playmaker. Like on this play right here, man, it's not just the speed because he's covered, but he comes back and makes the play on the ball. And yeah, the starters are in. So, I mean, it does count. So the funny thing about this is that 2 years ago, when they were in the Super Bowl, I did a video on that one, and the game plan that they had from that game was actually what they should have done this time again too. I mean, I know you don't do the exact same things. You can do different formations, looks, and stuff, and do that. But as far as the running the ball, quick intermediate passing, mixing those things up, those things help them to get through the Eagles defense, especially toward the end of the game. But even when they were down in that game, they stayed with it until it worked. And but this time they just kind of they panicked, they got out of whack, and they just tried to get and do too much for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it was going for the three-peat or whatnot, and all the pressure. I don't know, but that's just what ended up happening. But the Eagles also did some things different too defensively, which I didn't get into because the Chiefs barely ran the ball, so I couldn't really show that. But how they aligned and stuff like that was a lot different. So I think that helped as far as getting the spacing and getting the angles they needed to get the sacks and stuff that ended up happening. So getting the pressure on Mahomes was a great effort, and it really messed up the offensive timing and rhythm for what the Chiefs like to do because they're a very rhythmic team and what makes them go. So we'll get into the Eagles in a second, at least on offense. We'll get to the Eagles in a second, but I thank y'all for watching and stay tuned for part two.